The docking bay of Galactic Council Station Meridian hummed with activity as ships from 100 different worlds arrived for the diplomatic session. Captain Lisa Grant stood at the viewport of her vessel, the Horizon, and watched the massive station grow larger as they approached. Behind her, she heard the familiar sound of claws clicking against metal flooring. "Easy," Lisa said without turning around. "We'll be there soon." The dragon rumbled low in his throat, a sound that vibrated through the deck plates. Was massive, nearly 20 feet from snout to tail, with scales that shimmered like polished emeralds in the ship's interior lights. His wings were folded tight against his body, but even compressed, they made the cargo bay feel smaller than it was. Lisa had raised from an egg. That was 15 years ago, back on Earth, in the mountains of Colorado where her family had bonded with dragons for 3 generations. The bond between them went deeper than words. She could feel his emotions as clearly as her own. Right now, he was curious and slightly annoyed at being confined to the ship for so long. "I know," she said, reaching up to touch his scaled snout. "But we need to make a good impression. Humanity is counting on us." The Horizon settled into its assigned dock with a gentle thud. Lisa straightened her uniform and checked her reflection one last time. She wore the standard diplomatic corps outfit, simple and professional, with the Earth insignia on her shoulder. Nothing fancy. Humans were the newcomers here, and they needed to prove themselves worthy of joining the Galactic Council's trade network. Ambassador Jin Park was waiting at the airlock when Lisa and emerged. He was a tall man with graying hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had been negotiating with alien species for 5 years, ever since Earth made first contact. "Captain Grant," he said with a slight bow, "thank you for coming. Your presence here will make our case much stronger." "Happy to help, Ambassador," Lisa replied. She gestured to who lowered his head respectfully. "We both are." Jin smiled, but Lisa could see the tension in his shoulders. "I should warn you. They are leading the opposition to our trade application. They believe humans are too primitive to be worth their time." "Let me guess," Lisa said. "They have better technology, so they think that makes them better than us." "Exactly." Jin started walking toward the main council chambers, and Lisa fell into step beside him. Followed, his presence drawing stares from every alien they passed. Some looked curious, others looked afraid, a few looked disgusted. The council chamber was enormous, a circular room with viewing platforms rising in tiers around a central floor. Hundreds of alien species were represented here, each with their own strange appearance and customs. Lisa had studied them all during the journey, but seeing them in person was different. The air smelled wrong, filled with chemicals and scents her human nose couldn't identify. Jin led them to the human delegation's platform, a modest space near the bottom tier. As they settled in, Lisa noticed a commotion on the opposite side of the chamber. A group of aliens in dark armor were pointing at and talking loudly. Jin muttered, "Right on schedule." They were impressive, Lisa had to admit. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, with thick muscles and skin that looked like gray stone. Their leader, a commander named according to the briefing materials, wore more elaborate armor than the others. He strode across the chamber floor with the confidence of someone who had never been challenged. "Humans," called out, his voice amplified by the chamber's translation system. "I see you have brought your pet to the council. How quaint." The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to watch the exchange. Lisa felt irritation spike through their bond, but she sent him calming thoughts. "Not yet. Let them talk." "That is no pet, Commander," Jin replied evenly. "Is Captain Grant's bonded companion. Dragons are Earth's apex predators, intelligent and powerful." Laughed a harsh sound that echoed off the chamber walls. "Apex predators? That oversized lizard. Our hunting beasts back home would make a meal of it." Several others joined in the laughter. Lisa clenched her fists but kept her expression neutral. She had dealt with bullies before. They all used the same tactics. "Commander," said a new voice. The council arbiter, a named, floated forward on his anti-gravity platform. His species looked like jellyfish made of light, and his voice had a musical quality. "Please maintain proper decorum. We are here to discuss trade agreements, not to insult our guests." Insult turned to face the arbiter. "I speak only truth. Look at them. Humans are weak. They bring animals to a council of advanced civilizations. They have barely left their own solar system. What could they possibly offer us?" Jin stepped forward. "Earth offers resources, cultural exchange, and—" "Resources we can take," interrupted. If you cannot defend your world, you do not deserve a seat at this council. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species seemed to agree with, others argued against him. Lisa watched it all, feeling anger build in her chest, but she also felt something else. His presence in her mind was calm, ancient, patient. She looked at her dragon. He was watching with eyes that had seen mountains rise and fall. Dragons lived for centuries. They had wisdom that went beyond human understanding, and right now was telling her to wait. Enough, Arbiter said, his voice cutting through the noise. The humans have followed all proper protocols. They have the right to present their case. Crossed his arms. Then let them prove their worth. Let them show us they are more than primitives playing with fire. What do you propose? Jin asked carefully. A demonstration, said. His smile was cruel. Let me face this dragon of theirs. If it is truly a predator as you claim, let it try to intimidate me. When it fails, humanity will withdraw its application and accept its place as a lesser species. The chamber exploded with arguments. Half the council seemed outraged at the suggestion. The other half seemed intrigued. Lisa felt Jin's hand on her arm. Don't, he whispered. It's a trap. He wants to humiliate us. But Lisa was already stepping forward. She could feel agreement through their bond. This arrogant fool needed to learn a lesson, and they were happy to teach it. We accept, Lisa said clearly. Jin closed his eyes in dismay, grinned like he had already won. Excellent, the commander said. Tomorrow in the combat arena, I will show your council what real strength looks like. Arbiter looked troubled but nodded. Very well, the challenge is accepted. We will reconvene tomorrow at midday. As the council session ended and delegates began filing out, Jin pulled Lisa aside. Do you know what you've done? He asked quietly. Has military-grade cybernetic enhancements. He's fought in a dozen campaigns. If he's hurt, or worse, if he hurts, we'll lose everything. Lisa placed her hand on his neck, feeling the warmth of his scales. Ambassador has never lost a challenge, not once, and he's faced bigger threats than an overconfident soldier. But, trust us, Lisa said. She met Jin's eyes. Thinks dragons are dumb animals. He thinks intimidation is the same as strength. Tomorrow he'll learn the difference. Rumbled in agreement, a sound like distant thunder. Jin looked between them and finally nodded. I hope you're right, Captain, for all our sakes. As they left the chamber, Lisa felt dozens of alien eyes watching them. Word of the challenge would spread quickly. By tomorrow, the entire station would be watching. Good, Lisa thought. Let them watch. Let them all see what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. His thoughts brushed against hers, filled with ancient confidence. He had faced worse than, much worse. And tomorrow the galaxy would learn why dragons were called apex predators. Tomorrow they would learn that Earth's creatures were not to be trifled with. The news spread across Galactic Council Station Meridian like wildfire. By evening, every species on the station knew about the challenge. Humans and their dragon against the commander. It was all anyone could talk about. Lisa spent the night in the Horizon's cargo bay with. She didn't sleep much. Instead, she sat against his side, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing, listening to the thoughts they shared without words. They think you're just an animal, she whispered into the darkness. They don't understand what you are. His response came as feelings rather than words. Amusement, patience, and something older, a kind of wisdom that made Lisa feel small. Dragons had been on Earth long before humans learned to make fire. They had their own societies, their own laws, their own ways of seeing the world. The bond between dragon and rider was not about control. It was about choice, mutual respect, partnership. I know, Lisa said. You chose me, and I chose you. She remembered the day she first saw his egg, hidden in a cave high in the Rocky Mountains. Her grandmother had taken her there, explaining that their family had bonded with dragons for generations. The egg had been warm to the touch, and when she placed her hand on it, she felt something stir inside. A presence, a mind reaching out to meet hers. When hatched 3 months later, the bond was already complete. They had been together ever since. Morning came too quickly. Jin arrived at the cargo bay with coffee and a worried expression. The entire station will be watching, he said, handing Lisa a cup. This has become bigger than just our trade application. Some species are taking bets. Others are demanding the challenge be canceled. What does Arbiter say? He tried to convince to withdraw the challenge. The commander refused. Jin sat down on a storage crate. Lisa, you need to understand something about culture. They value physical dominance above everything else. In their society, showing mercy is seen as weakness. If doesn't fight back, they'll call it cowardice. And if he does fight back, then we risk an interstellar incident. Jin rubbed his eyes. There's no good outcome here. Lisa looked at who was watching them with intelligent eyes. What if there's a third option? What if we don't fight, but we don't back down either? I don't understand. You will, Lisa said. Trust me. 2 hours later, they stood at the entrance to the station's combat arena. The space was huge, designed to accommodate challenges between different species. The floor was reinforced metal. The walls were energy shields strong enough to contain explosions. Above them, viewing platforms rose in tiers, and every single seat was filled. Lisa had never seen so many aliens in one place. Thousands of eyes watched as she walked onto the arena floor. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some cheered, others made sounds of disapproval. A few species she didn't recognize simply stared in silence. Across the arena, entered to roaring applause from the section. He wore full combat armor now, black and intimidating, covered in weapons. Energy rifles hung from his back. Blades were strapped to his thighs. His helmet had a visor that glowed red in the arena's lights. He looked like a walking tank, designed to kill. Arbiter floated to the center of the arena, his jellyfish-like body pulsing with light. We are here to witness a challenge, he announced, his voice projected throughout the arena. Commander of the Empire has questioned the worth of Earth's dragons. Captain Lisa Grant has accepted his challenge to demonstrate their capabilities. The crowd roared. Lisa noticed that the human section was tiny compared to the others. Earth had few representatives here. They were outnumbered by everyone. The rules are simple, continued. No lethal force. The challenge ends when one participant yields or is unable to continue. Station security will intervene if necessary. Laughed, the sound harsh through his helmet speakers. I will not need lethal force. The beast will flee before me. Lisa felt anger spike through her bond with, but she sent calming thoughts. Remember the plan. Show them what you are. Participants, take your positions, said, floating backward toward the safety of the shield wall. Lisa walked to one side of the arena. She placed her hand on his neck one last time. Show them, she whispered. Show them what dragons really are. His response was pure confidence. He stretched his wings and the crowd gasped. Fully extended, his wingspan was nearly 40 feet. The emerald scales caught the arena lights and seemed to glow. He looked magnificent, powerful, ancient. Then he folded his wings and simply stood there, watching with calm eyes. The commander began his display. He stomped his feet, making the metal floor ring. He beat his armored chest with his fists. He roared, a sound amplified by his suit's speakers until it echoed off the arena walls. Didn't move, didn't react, just watched. Pulled out one of his rifles and fired it into the air. The energy blast hit the ceiling shields with a crack of thunder. The crowd flinched. Some of the smaller species fled their seats. Remained perfectly still. Lisa could feel the dragon's thoughts. He was analyzing, measuring him, understanding him. This wasn't a real threat. This was a child throwing a tantrum, and dragons did not fear children. Fight me, shouted. He switched his rifle's setting and fired at the ground near his feet. The metal melted from the heat. Show me this fearsome predator the humans boast about. Still did not move. The section began to laugh and jeer. They thought the dragon was afraid. They thought stillness meant weakness. They were wrong. Lisa watched grow more frustrated. The commander holstered his rifle and drew 2 long blades from his thighs. He began to circle, moving with the practiced grace of a trained warrior. Nothing but an overgrown pet, called out. Look at it, too scared to even move. He was close now, within striking distance. He raised his blades high. Last chance, beast, he said. Flee or face me. Turned his head slowly to look at. His eyes, ancient and wise, met the commander's visor. And in that moment, Lisa felt project a single thought outward, not just to her, but to everyone watching. Pity. The dragon, this arrogant fool who mistook stillness for fear. Must have felt something because he hesitated. For just a second, his confident posture wavered. Then he lunged forward with a battle cry, both blades aimed at its neck. What happened next was almost too fast to see. His tail whipped around in a blur of green scales. It caught mid-leap and swept his feet out from under him. The commander hit the ground hard, his armor clanging against metal. His blades skittered across the floor. Before could recover was there. One massive claw pressed down on the commander's chest, pinning him to the ground. Not hard enough to crush, just enough to hold. The arena fell absolutely silent. Lowered his head until his snout was inches from his helmet. His jaws opened slowly, revealing rows of teeth each as long as a human hand. His breath was hot enough that steam began to fog the commander's visor. Lisa could feel what was thinking. He could end this. One bite, one squeeze of that claw, but he wouldn't, because that would make him like a bully who used strength to dominate the weak. Instead, simply held the commander there, showing him what real power looked like, teaching him the difference between intimidation and actual threat. Struggled trying to push the claw away. It didn't move. His armor's servos whined as he activated its strength enhancers. Still, his claw remained steady as stone. "Yield," Arbiter called out. "Commander, do you yield?" The went still. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then quietly spoke, "I yield." Immediately stepped back, releasing the commander. He returned to Lisa's side and sat down, folding his wings as if nothing had happened. The arena erupted. Cheers and shouts in 100 different languages filled the air. The human section was going wild. Even some of the other species seemed impressed. Slowly got to his feet. His armor was dented where his claw had pressed down. He retrieved his blades and sheathed them. Then he removed his helmet. His face was gray, not from his natural skin tone, but from fear. His hands trembled slightly. He looked at for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out of the arena without another word. The section was silent. Some looked angry, others looked thoughtful, but none of them were laughing anymore. Jin rushed onto the arena floor, his face split in a huge grin. "That was incredible. Did you see their faces?" Lisa smiled but kept her eyes on. He was never in any danger, knew exactly what he was doing. What was he doing? Teaching, Lisa said simply. Showing that strength without wisdom is nothing, that real predators don't need to prove themselves with displays and threats. Rumbled in agreement. Arbiter floated over to them. "Captain Grant, that was most educational. I have seen many challenges in this arena, but never one resolved with such restraint." "Is not a fighter by nature," Lisa explained. "Dragons only fight when necessary. The rest of the time they prefer to watch and learn." "Fascinating," Slight pulsed thoughtfully. "The council will reconvene tomorrow to vote on your trade application. After today's display, I believe the outcome will be favorable." As they left the arena, Lisa felt hundreds of alien eyes watching them with new respect. Word with the aftermath of the challenge changed everything aboard Galactic Council Station Meridian. Lisa noticed it immediately as she walked through the corridors. Aliens who had previously ignored them now stopped to watch. Some bowed. Others kept their distance, showing respect rather than fear. "They're treating us differently," Jin said as they made their way back to the human quarters. "Half the species here have requested formal meetings. They want to learn about Earth's dragons." Lisa wasn't surprised, had made quite an impression. "What about the—" Jin's expression darkened. "They've gone silent. No one has seen since he left the arena. His subordinates refused to talk to anyone." That worried Lisa more than the commander's earlier aggression. Silence could mean acceptance, but it could also mean planning. She had embarrassed in front of thousands of witnesses. Men like him didn't forget that kind of humiliation. They reached the human quarters, a modest section of the station with basic accommodations, settled in the corner that had been reinforced to handle his weight. Lisa sat beside him, letting her mind drift into the comfortable space they shared. His thoughts came to her in waves. He was content but alert. He had sensed something in the arena, something beyond wounded pride. There were others watching, others who saw opportunity in conflict. "I know," Lisa murmured. "We need to be careful." A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. The door panel lit up, showing an incoming message. Jin accepted it, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the room. It was Dr. Sophie Turner, the from Earth who had studied dragons for 30 years. She looked excited. "Captain Grant, Ambassador Park, you need to see this," Sophie said without preamble. "The Council's Scientific Committee has requested a full presentation on dragon biology and intelligence. They want to understand how the bonding works." When Jin asked, Tomorrow morning before the vote, Sophie grinned. This is huge. We could change how the entire galaxy views Earth. Lisa felt a mix of pride and anxiety. We'll need to be there. If he's willing, having him present would make the presentation much more effective. Lisa looked at, the dragon's thoughts brushed against hers. Agreement, curiosity. He wanted others to understand what dragons truly were. He'll be there, Lisa confirmed. After Sophie signed off, Jin paced the room. This could work in our favor. If the Council understands the depth of the human-dragon bond, they'll see Earth as more than just another primitive world. Or they'll see us as a threat, Lisa countered. Some species might not like the idea of predators as intelligent as they are. Then we make sure they understand that dragons choose peace, Jin said firmly, just like chose not to harm. The next morning came with unexpected news. Had requested a private meeting with Lisa. No weapons, no subordinates, just the two of them. Jin was immediately suspicious. It could be a trap. On a neutral station with security everywhere, Lisa shook her head. He wants to talk. I should hear what he has to say. Then I'm coming with you. No, Lisa's voice was firm. He asked for me alone. If I bring backup, it will look like fear, like I don't trust the station's protection. Rumbled low in his throat. He didn't like the idea either, but Lisa could feel his grudging acceptance. She could handle herself, and if she needed him, their bond would let her call for help instantly. The meeting was set in a small conference room near the diplomatic quarters. Lisa arrived first, taking a seat facing the door. She wore her standard uniform, no weapons except the small ceremonial knife all Earth diplomats carried. Entered 5 minutes later. He looked different without his armor, smaller somehow. His gray skin had deep lines that suggested age, and his eyes were tired. He sat across from Lisa without speaking for a long moment. "Your dragon could have killed me," he finally said. "Yes. Why didn't it?" Lisa leaned back in her chair. "Because isn't a mindless killer. He's intelligent. He makes choices based on wisdom, not instinct." His hands clenched on the table. In culture, showing mercy to an enemy is weakness. It invites further challenges. "That's not how dragons see it," Lisa said. "To them, choosing not to kill when you have the power to do so is the ultimate display of strength. It shows control, discipline, things that matter more than raw power." There was quiet for another long moment. "I have fought in 37 battles. I have led troops against enemies across 5-star systems. I have never been defeated so easily." "You weren't defeated by strength," Lisa said gently. "You were defeated by patience, didn't need to match your aggression. He simply waited for you to make a mistake." "And I did," looked down at his hands. "I let my pride blind me. I saw a creature I didn't understand and assumed it was beneath me." "Most species make that mistake with dragons," Lisa said. "They see the teeth and claws and think that's all there is. They don't see the intelligence, the emotions, the choice." Met her eyes. "Your people bond with these creatures, how?" Lisa smiled. "It starts before we're born. Dragon eggs can sense human presence. When they're ready to hatch, they reach out mentally looking for a compatible mind. If they find one, a bond begins to form. By the time the dragon hatches, the connection is already there. And it lasts until death, usually the human's death, since dragons live much longer than we do." Lisa's voice grew softer. "When a bonded human dies, their dragon often chooses to die as well. The grief is too much to bear." Absorbed this information. So the bond is not control, it is love. Love, trust, partnership, all of those things. Lisa leaned forward. "Chose me just as I chose him. We are stronger together than we could ever be apart." They stood abruptly. For a moment, Lisa tensed, but he simply walked to the window overlooking the station's central plaza. "I came here to intimidate you into withdrawing your people's application," he admitted. "The Empire does not want competition. We prefer to be the dominant military force in this sector. And now I understand that humanity offers something different, not competition, but a new perspective." He turned back to face her. "My superiors will not be pleased, but I will speak in favor of your application at the vote." Lisa stood as well. "Why?" "Because a species that can bond with apex predators and teach them mercy is a species worth knowing." Walked to the door, then paused. "Tell your dragon that he has earned my respect. That is not something I give easily." After he left, Lisa sat back down, processing what had just happened. The most aggressive opponent of Earth's application had just become an ally. She reached out through her bond with, sharing what had transpired. His response was satisfaction mixed with amusement. Humans always underestimated how much could be learned through observation and patience. The presentation to the scientific committee went better than Lisa had hoped. Sophie Turner explained dragon biology in detail, using holographic models to show their unique brain structure. Dragons had not one but 3 neural centers, each handling different aspects of cognition. One for instinct and survival, one for higher reasoning, and one specifically for empathy and social bonding. This third neural center is what makes the human-dragon bond possible, Sophie explained to the assembled scientists. It allows dragons to form deep emotional connections with other species. In Earth's history, they bonded with humans because we were the only other species intelligent enough to communicate complex ideas. Demonstrated by sharing thoughts with Lisa. She spoke aloud what he was thinking, showing the committee how seamlessly they could communicate. And scientist in the front row raised a claw. But surely this bond gives humans an unfair advantage, a military asset that other species cannot match. Dragons are not weapons, Lisa said firmly. They are individuals with their own thoughts and desires, could refuse to fight if he believed a war was unjust. No amount of commanding or pleading would change his mind. Fascinating, the clicked. So the dragon maintains autonomy even within the bond. Always, Sophie confirmed. The bond is partnership, not slavery. It must be mutual or it fails completely. More questions followed, each one showing genuine interest rather than suspicion. By the end of the presentation, even the most skeptical scientists seemed impressed. As they left the chamber, Jin pulled Lisa aside. The vote is in 2 hours. I've been counting the delegates. It's going to be close. How close? We need 2/3 majority. Right now we're at 63%. It could go either way. Lisa looked at who was watching the other delegates file past. Some stopped to examine him more closely, their fear replaced by curiosity. We've done everything we can, she said. Now we wait and see if it's enough. The council chamber filled quickly for the final vote. Lisa took her place in the human section, with beside her and Jin on her other side. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Arbiter floated to the center of the chamber. We are here to vote on Earth's application for full trade status within the Galactic Council. Each delegation will cast their vote. A 2/3 majority is required for approval. The voting began. One by one, species announced their decision. Some voted yes immediately, others voted no without explanation. A few abstained, unsure. Lisa watched the count climb on the holographic display. 60%, 62%, 65%. Then stood in the section. The chamber fell silent. The Empire votes in favor of Earth's application. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even Jin looked shocked. They had been the loudest opponents. Their support changed everything. The final count flashed on the display. 71% in favor. The celebration in the human quarters lasted well into the night. Jin had managed to acquire what he called the good stuff, bottles of Earth wine that had made the long journey across space. Delegates from friendly species stopped by to offer congratulations. Even some who had voted against the application came to acknowledge Earth's achievement. Lisa sat within a quiet corner, watching the festivities but not really part of them. She could feel the dragon's contentment through their bond, mixed with something else. Curiosity about what would come next. Captain Grant, a small voice interrupted her thoughts. Lisa turned to see a standing nearby. The species looked like oversized rabbits with 6 limbs and large eyes that seemed to see everything. This particular wore the blue robes of a council researcher. I am Doctor, the researcher said, her whiskers twitching nervously. I attended your presentation today. I have questions if you have time. Of course, Lisa gestured to the seat beside her, shifted slightly to give the small alien more space. Doctor sat carefully, keeping a respectful distance from. I have studied bonded species across the galaxy for 20 years. I have never encountered anything like the human-dragon connection. The depth of communication, the emotional resonance, it defies conventional xenobiology. Dragons are special, Lisa agreed. We didn't fully understand them ourselves until recently. May I ask a personal question? Lisa nodded. What does the bond feel like, from the human perspective? Lisa considered how to explain something so fundamental to her existence. Imagine having a second mind beside your own, not controlling you or overriding your thoughts, but there, always. You can feel their emotions as clearly as your own. Their pain becomes your pain. Their joy becomes your joy. And the dragon experiences the same. Yes, it's completely mutual. Lisa reached up to touch Sneck. The dragon rumbled softly. When I'm scared knows, when he's angry I know, we can't hide from each other. Doctor's ears drooped thoughtfully. That level of vulnerability must be difficult. Sometimes, Lisa admitted, but it also means I'm never truly alone, even on the darkest days I have, and he has me. They pulled out a small data pad. Would you be willing to participate in a long-term study? The Council's Xenobiology Division wants to understand bonded species better. Your cooperation could help other species learn about partnership rather than domination. Lisa looked at sharing the question through their bond. The dragon's response was immediate. Yes, let them learn, let them understand. We'd be honored, Lisa said. Doctor's whiskers perked up with excitement. Wonderful, I will arrange the necessary protocols. Thank you, Captain Grant, and thank you. The dragon dipped his head in acknowledgement, and the small researcher hurried away clutching her data pad. Jin appeared with 2 glasses of wine, making friends already. Just agreeing to help with research, Lisa said, accepting a glass. How are the negotiations going? Better than expected. 6 species have already requested direct trade agreements with Earth. The Conquered wants to establish cultural exchange programs. And he paused, shaking his head in disbelief. They want to discuss a mutual defense pact. Doing. He's been talking to his government all evening. Apparently his report about impressed them. Jin sat down heavily. Who would have thought, our biggest opponents becoming our biggest supporters? Respect earned is stronger than respect demanded, Lisa said. Learned that the hard way. A commotion near the door drew their attention. Himself had arrived, still without his armor, looking almost uncomfortable in simple civilian clothes. The room quieted as he approached. Captain Grant, he said formally. Ambassador Park, I hope I am not intruding. Not at all, Jin said quickly. Please join us. Sat, his large frame making the human-sized furniture seem small. He looked at, and Lisa felt the dragon's attention focus on the. I spoke with my superiors, began. They were angry at first. I had promised them I would block Earth's application. I failed. You changed your mind based on new information, Lisa said. That's not failure, that's wisdom. In culture, changing position is seen as weakness. Jaw tightened. But I told them what I witnessed, not just the challenge, but the bond, the choice, the restraint. And they want to meet your dragons, all of them, leaned forward. The Empire has conquered 17 worlds through military might, but conquest creates resentment, rebellion. We hold our empire through fear and force. That's not sustainable, Jin observed. No, it is not, looked troubled. My leaders see in your dragons a different model, power combined with wisdom, strength tempered by choice. They believe we could learn from this. Lisa exchanged a glance with Jin. This was unexpected. Earth has maybe 300 bonded dragons, she said carefully. They're not soldiers, they won't fight your wars. We do not ask them to, said quickly. We ask them to teach, to show our people that there are other ways to use strength. That's a big ask, Lisa said. Dragons choose their own paths, I can't speak for them. Thoughts brushed her mind. Interest, possibility, the idea of teaching others appealed to the dragon's nature. I can pass the request to Earth's Dragon Council, Lisa offered. They'll decide if any dragons are interested in visiting space. Bowed his head, that is all I ask. After he left, Jin let out a long breath. Did that just happen? Did the Empire just ask us to teach them philosophy? Not philosophy, Lisa corrected. Empathy, they want to learn how to hold power without cruelty. Same thing, Jin muttered. He raised his glass. To unexpected allies and the dragon who made them possible. Lisa clinked her glass against his and drank. The wine was earth wine, brought from home, and it tasted like victory. The next morning brought a formal ceremony. Arbiter presented Earth with its official council credentials, a crystalline data core containing trade laws, contact information, and access codes to council facilities. Earth is now a full member of the Galactic Council, announced to the assembled delegates. with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Jin accepted the crystal with shaking hands. Lisa stood beside him with, representing Earth's unique contribution to the galactic community. After the ceremony, Dr. Sophie Turner pulled Lisa aside. I've been analyzing the data from yesterday's presentation. The Council's interest in dragons has exceeded anything I anticipated. Good interest or bad interest? Lisa asked. Good mostly, but there are concerns. Sophie pulled up a holographic display showing various species' responses. Some delegates worry that bonded dragons give Earth an unfair military advantage. Others fear that we might try to weaponize the bonding process. That's not possible, Lisa said firmly. The bond only works with mutual consent. You can't force it. I know that and you know that, but they don't. Sophie closed the display. We need to be transparent, show the galaxy that dragons are individuals, not weapons. The more people understand, the less they'll fear. What do you suggest? More demonstrations, more research sharing, maybe even allow some delegates to meet other bonded pairs from Earth. Sophie smiled. We need to normalize human-dragon partnerships so they're seen as natural rather than threatening. Lisa nodded slowly. It made sense. Fear came from ignorance. The cure was knowledge. I'll talk to Earth, she said. See if other riders are willing to come to the station. Over the next few days, Lisa became minor celebrities aboard the station. Everywhere they went, aliens stopped to stare or ask questions. Some were bold enough to approach and ask if they could touch scales. The dragon usually allowed it, patient and calm as always. One afternoon, a group of young aliens approached during a walk through the station's garden dome. They were from mixed species, probably children of council delegates. Is it true your dragon can talk? One asked, a small crystalline being that chimed when it spoke. Communicates through thoughts, not words, Lisa explained. But yes, he can talk to me. What does he think about? Another asked, this one furry with too many eyes. Lisa smiled. Thinks about many things. Right now, he's wondering why your garden has no rocks to sun himself on. The children giggled. Catching the mood, deliberately flopped down on the grass and closed his eyes as if napping. The children laughed harder. Can we pet him? The crystalline child asked hopefully. Lisa looked at through their bond. The dragon cracked one eye open and sent a wave of amused permission. Gently, Lisa said. Dragons are strong, but their scales are sensitive. The children swarmed forward, tiny hands and claws and appendages reaching out to touch scales. The dragon lay perfectly still, radiating contentment. Lisa watched them with a full heart. This was what they had come here for, not just trade agreements or political alliances, but this. Understanding between species. Children who would grow up knowing that dragons were friends, not monsters. A shadow fell across the grass. Lisa looked up to see standing at the edge of the garden, watching. They have no fear, he observed, gesturing at the children. Why should they, Lisa asked, isn't a threat to them. In space, children are taught to fear anything stronger than themselves. The expression was hard to read. It keeps them cautious, safe. Or it teaches them that strength equals danger, Lisa countered. These children are learning that strength can be gentle, that power can choose kindness. Watched as a small child climbed onto his back, giggling as the dragon carefully shifted to keep the child from falling. Your way builds trust, said quietly. Ours builds walls. It's not too late to change, Lisa said. The nodded slowly. No, perhaps it is not. As the sun set over the garden dome, casting long shadows across the grass, Lisa sat beside and watched the children play. The galaxy was changing. Slowly, carefully, but changing nonetheless. And at the center of that change was a dragon who had chosen mercy over violence, wisdom over rage. 3 weeks after the vote, Lisa stood in the observation deck of Galactic Council Station Meridian and watched Earth rise in the viewport. Her home planet looked small from this distance, a blue marble against the black of space. Somewhere down there, other dragon riders were preparing to make the journey she had made. Homesick, Jin asked, joining her at the window. A little, Lisa admitted, but also excited. Everything we've built here is just the beginning. The ambassador smiled. The council has formally requested that you serve as cultural liaisons. They want you to help other species understand human-dragon partnerships. For how long? As long as you're willing. The position comes with a permanent quarters on the station, full diplomatic status, and a very generous salary. Lisa looked at who was dozing in the corner. The dragon's thoughts brushed hers. Acceptance. This was where they were needed. This was where they could do the most good. "We'll do it," Lisa said. Over the following months, 5 more bonded pairs arrived from Earth. Each brought their own unique dynamic, their own story. And his dragon Storm were from Alaska, experienced in Arctic survival. Helen Price and her dragon Ember specialized in search and rescue. Young Danny Cooper, barely 20, had bonded with a dragon named Swift who was still learning the depths of their connection. Together, they formed Earth's official Dragon Corps, a diplomatic unit unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Their first major assignment came from an unexpected source. The collective, a peaceful species of amphibious beings, had a problem. Their colony world was being terrorized by massive predators from the ocean depths. Traditional weapons failed because the creatures were intelligent enough to adapt. Military intervention would require orbital bombardment, destroying the colony in the process. "We need a different approach," the ambassador explained in the council chamber. "Your dragons hunt predators. Perhaps they can teach ours to coexist with them." Lisa met with the other writers to discuss it. They gathered in their new quarters, a large space designed to accommodate both humans and dragons. "It's risky," said, scratching Storm's neck. "We don't know these creatures. They might be too aggressive to reason with." "Or they might be scared," Helen countered, "defending territory like any animal would." Danny looked uncertain. "Swift and I have never dealt with ocean predators." Lisa felt's thoughts merged with her own. The dragon was interested. This was exactly the kind of challenge that appealed to his nature. Not a fight, but a puzzle. How to create harmony where there was conflict. "We'll need to study these creatures first," Lisa decided. "Learn their patterns, their motivations, then we can determine if coexistence is possible." The mission to the colony took 2 weeks of preparation. The dragons traveled in a specially designed transport ship with open-air compartments. Lisa spent the journey reviewing data about the ocean predators, creatures called depth stalkers. They were massive, 50 feet long, with powerful tentacles and bioluminescent bodies. They hunted in packs and showed remarkable problem-solving abilities. Recent attacks on the colony suggested they were testing defenses, learning patterns. "They're intelligent," Sophie Turner confirmed. She had insisted on joining the mission as chief science officer. "The question is whether they're intelligent enough to negotiate with." The colony world was beautiful, mostly ocean with scattered island chains. They had built their settlements on the largest islands, elegant structures that worked with the natural environment rather than dominating it. The depth stalkers appeared on the second night. Lisa and were on patrol, flying low over the water, when the dragon's senses detected movement below. Massive shapes gliding through the depths, their lights creating patterns in the darkness. Descended carefully, skimming just above the waves. Lisa felt his curiosity reaching out, trying to understand these creatures. The depth stalkers responded. One rose from the water, tentacles extended, lights pulsing in what might have been a warning or a greeting. Hovered wings working hard to maintain position. He sent out a simple concept, peaceful, not hunting, just observing. The depth stalker's lights changed pattern. Its tentacles relaxed slightly. Communication, Lisa realized with shock, was actually communicating with it. The exchange lasted only minutes, but it was enough. The depth stalker dove back into the ocean and its pack followed. They didn't attack, they simply left. "Did that just happen?" His voice crackled over the radio. He and Storm had witnessed the encounter from a distance. "Made contact," Lisa confirmed. "They're not mindless predators, they're trying to communicate." Over the next week, the dragons established a pattern. They would fly over the ocean at set times, and the depth stalkers would surface to interact. Slowly, a language emerged. Not words, but concepts shared through light patterns, body language, and something deeper that the dragons understood intuitively. Sophie worked with the scientists to decode the communication. What they discovered changed everything. "The depth stalkers aren't attacking the colony," Sophie explained to the gathered leadership. "They're trying to warn you. There's something in the deeper ocean, something that's driving them toward shore. They've been trying to tell you for months." The leader, an elderly female named, looked stunned. "We thought they were invaders. We've been fighting them, driving them away." "They see your colony as a safe zone," Lisa said. They've been asking for refuge. The revelation led to a joint expedition. Dragons and depth stalkers working together, diving into the ocean's deepest trenches to find the real threat. What they found was a geological instability, a massive volcanic system about to erupt. The depth stalkers had sensed it weeks ago and fled toward the surface. With advance warning, they evacuated their coastal settlements and moved inland. When the eruption came, it was massive, but no lives were lost. The depth stalkers, grateful for the sanctuary, helped the rebuild, using their strength to move materials and their intelligence to suggest better designs. The mission became legendary across the galaxy. Not a military victory, but a diplomatic one. Species learning to communicate across vast biological and cultural differences. Attended the celebration on the station after the dragons returned. He approached Lisa with something she had never seen from him before: humility. "I have watched your progress," he said. "The way you resolve conflicts without bloodshed, the way you build bridges instead of walls." "That's what dragons teach us," Lisa said. "Power is only valuable if you use it wisely." "The High Command has made a decision." Stood. "We are requesting formal training from Earth's Dragon Corps, not in combat but in diplomacy, in understanding, in choosing peace when war would be easier." Lisa looked at the other writers. They nodded, understanding the significance of this request. "We accept," Lisa said, "but know this. Learning from dragons means changing how you think about strength, about control, about leadership." "We are ready to change," said. "Your dragon proved that to me, now I must prove it to my people." The training program began a month later. Soldiers arrived on the station, their armor left behind, their weapons surrendered. They came as students, not warriors. Took particular interest in teaching them. The dragon who had defeated their commander with patience now taught them the same lesson. True strength came from within, from knowing when to fight and when to stand down, from understanding that the most powerful weapon was often the one you chose not to use. Lisa watched the train with, saw them struggle with concepts that went against everything their culture had taught them. But slowly, gradually, they began to understand. One soldier, a young female named, approached Lisa after a particularly difficult session. "Commander told us about the challenge, how your dragon could have killed him but chose mercy. I did not understand how that could be strength. Now I see. The choice is what matters. Anyone can kill. Only the truly strong can choose not to." "Exactly," Lisa said. "Dragons have teeth and claws that could tear through starship hulls, but they spend most of their lives at peace. That's not weakness, that's mastery." News of Earth's success spread. More species requested Dragon Corps assistance, mediating disputes, establishing communication with nonverbal species, teaching cooperation over conquest. The Council officially recognized the Dragon Corps as a neutral peacekeeping force, answerable only to Earth but trusted by all. It was unprecedented. Humans, the members of the galactic community, had become its most valued mediators. A year after the original vote, the Council held a ceremony honoring the Dragon Corps. Lisa stood with her fellow writers, their dragons arrayed behind them, a symbol of everything they had accomplished. Arbiter floated forward to present them with the Council Star, the highest civilian honor. "You have shown us that strength and compassion are not opposites," said. "That power wielded with wisdom can heal rather than harm. The galaxy is better for your presence." Lisa accepted the award, feeling pride through their bond. But she knew the real victory wasn't the medal or the recognition. It was the change they had inspired. Species learning from each other. Walls coming down, understanding replacing fear. That evening, Lisa took to the observation deck one last time. Earth hung in the viewport, home and yet somehow distant now. They had grown beyond one planet. They belonged to the galaxy now. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked quietly. "The mountains, the simple life before all this?" His response was complex, layered with emotion and memory. Yes, he missed the mountains, but he also loved what they were building here, a future where dragons and humans and all the species of the galaxy could work together. "Me too," Lisa whispered. Below them, the station hummed with life. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds, all trying to coexist in this small bubble of civilization floating in the void. It wasn't always easy. Conflicts still arose. Misunderstandings happened. But now, when problems emerged, species had another option besides violence. They could call the Dragon Corps. They could choose understanding over war. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that had taught in the arena, a truth that was spreading across the galaxy like ripples in water. True strength wasn't about being the biggest or the loudest or the most heavily armed. True strength was about choosing mercy when you had the power to destroy, about building bridges when tearing down walls would be easier, about showing the galaxy that there was another way. Lisa placed her hand on scales, feeling the warmth, the solid presence of her oldest friend. "We did good," she said. Rumbled in agreement, his thoughts filling her mind with contentment and hope. They had come to the stars to prove humanity's worth. Instead, they had proven something more important. That intelligence took many forms, that bonds between species could be stronger than any weapon, that the future belonged not to those who conquered but to those who chose to understand. The galaxy was changing, one heart at a time. And it had all started with a dragon who refused to be intimidated, and a human who trusted him completely. As the stars wheeled overhead and Earth shone in the viewport, Lisa smiled. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to teach and learn and grow. But tonight, she simply stood with her dragon and felt grateful. Grateful for the bond they shared, grateful for the path they had walked together, grateful for the chance to show the galaxy what partnership really meant. The alien had tried to intimidate her dragon, and learned why it was a terrible idea. Not because dragons were violent or cruel or unstoppable, but because they were wise, patient, and strong enough to choose peace. And that, Lisa thought, made all the difference. And partnership over dominance. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, but tonight, Lisa simply enjoyed the peace, knowing that they had helped build something important. A bridge between worlds, supported by scales and wings and an ancient bond between species. "The motion passes," Arbiter announced. "Earth is hereby granted full trade status within the Galactic Council." The human section erupted in cheers. Lisa felt tears in her eyes as she hugged Jin. They had done it. Against all odds, they had proven Earth's worth. Thoughts filled her mind, pride, joy, and a deep sense of satisfaction. The galaxy had finally seen what dragons truly were. Not monsters, not pets, but partners in humanity's journey to the stars. Earth's dragons were not pets. They were intelligent, powerful beings who chose cooperation over conquest. And humanity, who had bonded with such creatures, deserved to be taken seriously. Tomorrow, Commander would understand what true intimidation felt like.